Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Teaching Tales. Hard to believe that I'm going to say what I'm about to say. Episode 50. Didn't know if I was going to get to 5 because I didn't know if I was going to be able to have enough to talk about, but here we are, episode 50 of Teaching Tales. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Brent Coley, an elementary principal in beautiful and currently extremely warm Southern California. We are in triple digits. And joining me today, a fellow elementary principal, the one, the only, Toby Price. Toby, how are you?
Doing quite well, my friend. How are you?
I am doing fabulous. Now, you are in Mississippi.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, sir. We are in, it's Rankin County, and it's right near Jackson, Mississippi. And it's not in triple digits today, but it just rained, and then it's 85 degrees. So you can just like walk outside and have it hit you in the face. The humidity is just so thick.
Yeah. Terrible. I was as soon as I said that, I thought, okay, yeah, he may not have triple digit temperatures, but he may have triple digit humidity. So
it gets you. It's rough, but we got brand new AC in the building, so we're sitting pretty good right about now. It's not bad.
Awesome.
It's not bad.
Well, Toby, as we said before we started recording, I have been a big fan, followed you online in terms of Twitter, and I love what you share. For anyone who is not familiar with Toby Price and what he does, who he is, give my 5 or 6 listeners a hint, a little background. Who is Toby?
I'm a lucky guy who kind of fell into a whole bunch of things. I tell everybody I'm a dad. I've got 2 kids with autism, pretty severe. I've got one kid who doesn't have autism. She's 12 going on 40. She's pretty wild. Been married to my wife for 17 years this year. We're an anomaly because, they say with couples who have one child with a disability, 82% chance for divorce. We have 2. So my wife and I said we'd have to get married, get divorced, get married again, and then divorce one more time just to keep up with the stats. So we ain't doing that. That's not going to happen. And I taught in some really, some pretty affluent schools in my district for the longest time because I thought if I'm going to do this, I might as well take it easy on myself. And I had wonderful experiences. They were great. And then I ended up getting to be a part of Jim Barksdale's principal corps at Ole Miss, where you go through a year-long program to become an administrator, and it's free, which thank God, because I don't have any money. You get to do like an internship. It's a working internship the entire time you're there. So I got to intern in some Title I schools here in my district. And once I ended up over here in Richland in Title I school, I could not. I just love it. They need you differently in Title I, and it's something that I I used to have black hair. I used to have a lot more hair. It used to be black. Most of all of it's white right now, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I guess that's just me. I like some silly stuff. I since I'm in charge now, I get to put all my toys all over my office, and nobody gets to say anything. So that's fun too. So
definitely one of the perks.
Yes.
Being the principal. Yeah. Well. As I said, I think this is the first time we've ever spoken, but in terms of reading what you have shared online, I think that we have a lot of similar interests. You had said that before we started recording that you didn't get into education to become an administrator. No,
not at all. It's something that kind of happened out of necessity. I was at the time, my wife couldn't work because we're taking care of these kids who have a lot of challenges, especially when they were younger. Oh my gosh, we've come so far. But I remember my principal at the time saying, you need a few more CEUs. And she says, I don't know what workshop to send you to because you know how to do all this. I'm not going to waste money on this. Well, the next day she came back with the Barksdale principal corps. And before I knew it, I was in it. And, I don't do it just for that reason. We've been thinking a lot about that here at Richland Upper. And me personally about Simon's next book, Start With Why. And I'm trying to figure out, why am I doing this? I've been talking a lot with my wife, especially this summer, like, sweetheart, why do we put ourselves through all this? Because this summer, we're going through some major renovations in the building, thanks to a bond issue. Wonderful stuff. But I don't think I've left this summer at all. And, figuring out the why has been very important to me. and after a while, I realized that my why has been kind of there the whole time, but and I guess I do, I found once you find your why and figure out your purpose for doing it, even the hard stuff's not as bad anymore. I figured it out. It took me a little while. And I'll just we'll get right into it. It took me a while to figure it out because when I came to the school where I'm at now, my 2 oldest were going to school in a neighboring district where we live. They shall remain nameless. really, but and after a while, it turned out that it wasn't the best experience or the right fit for them, and it took us a while to get to that point. We ended up bringing them home to homeschool them. And then the longer I spent here, the district here, we had some changes in our special ed department here in the district. And eventually they came to me and they said, we want to start an autism-centered self-contained class in your building. I said, that's great. Okay, sure. I was assistant principal. Like, what do you want me to do? Yeah. And they said, well, we want you to bring McCade, and that's my son. That's my dude. We want you to bring him to school with you. We want him to be a part of this class and just to try it out and see what you think. And at first I was apprehensive because it's hard enough being an administrator and a special needs dad, but being an administrator in the same building where you have your special needs kid, I don't know if you're possible to sit on both sides of the table sometime. But I went ahead and did it. And it was a great experience. I brought my son over and, he excelled as soon as he got here. He's a little more high functioning than his sister. And then the next year we brought Addison in, and Addison, if you see us or follow us online, Addison has every stereotypical redheaded behavior you could possibly have, all those things and more. And she's high functioning, but she's still severe. She's like an enigma smothered in secret sauce, wrapped in a puzzle, man. She's tough. But we brought her here, and within 2 years, she went from, we were getting no work out of her, and she had never written. She couldn't read as far as we knew. She had trouble speaking. Within 2 years, she's writing. And writing beautifully, and she doesn't stop. Like, we have to buy a ream of paper every other day. I tell folks she's making up for the first 14 years when she couldn't write. She never stopped, and she reads to us. She read a book while she was here. And as far as like getting back to my why, I had to think about it. Like, what did they get while they were here? They got a place where they could belong because they were welcome here, and I think everybody did it maybe out of fear because it's a principal's kids, but they belonged. They could contribute to something here. My son started Pancake Fridays here because he loved pancakes, and eventually they started cooking pancakes in their room, and he started delivering them to every teacher in the building. And most of all, they grew while they were here. And we weren't getting that in the other places. So, I had to try to figure out my own why. That was it for the longest time. It was do it for them. Yeah. But then somebody said, well, they're at the high school. All three of them are going to the high school now across the street. And I'm just like, what do I do? But they're at the high school now. So I said, does that mean I can quit? And my wife said, no.
Nice try.
Yeah, nice try. No. So I had to figure out, okay, well, if they're across the street, why am I still doing it? And then, I sat down, I've been reading some Simon Sinek and really sit down and thinking, what did I get for them? And I said it just a minute ago, they got the opportunity to grow. They got the opportunity to contribute. They got the opportunity to belong. And most of all, they were safe here. I didn't have to worry about them because they were here, because guess what? I'm right here. Yeah. And my wife said, you know what? Well, then you go back to work and you do that for everybody else's kid.
Yeah.
You do that for everybody else's kid, and not just all the easy kids. You do that for those kids. And, and I say that because I call them those kids because Addison and McCade, they were that kid sometimes. That kid, the one who pulled the fire alarm at church one day, they were that kid. And so, make sure every kid, especially those kids, have the opportunity to belong and contribute and grow, and just a place to feel safe at, and make sure their parents feel safe with that. So, we've been trying to just hammer out why do we do this? And I think if we figure that out, it makes it a lot easier to get to work every morning, even on the bad days, even on the rough days, so we're still hammering it out, but we're going to get there.
Well, I love that, because I think so many times we focus on the how. We go to workshops that show us the new instructional strategy, the new piece of technology, the new fill in the blank, do something. But too often we gloss over the why. I mean, I know on my site, the last couple of years, we've been reflecting on our homework practices because the research that's out there.
Oh yeah,
there isn't. There's
exactly
none of it supporting homework at the elementary level. But the question, we started with that why. I didn't just stand up in front of the staff and say, stop giving homework. I asked them the question, why are you doing what you're doing? And then a couple seconds, like, why are you doing what you're doing? Like, why are you giving the assignments that you're giving? If the answer is because it's what we've always done,
not the best answer.
Not the best answer. If you can't answer the question, I don't know.
It,
Not a good answer. And then the second question was like, what are you doing with it once you get it? And this isn't a homework discussion, but it all starts with that question, why? And if teachers are able to reflect, because I stood up in front of the room and said, guys, I gave bad homework. Why? Because nobody ever asked me these questions. Nobody ever asked me why. Why are you doing that, Brent? Well, because that's just what you're supposed to do as a teacher.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what my teacher did to me. So
exactly, we model what was modeled. We do what was modeled to us. But going back to that why, it was so powerful listening to you say that your kids were like, we want to make them feel safe. I loved how you said that really, I jotted a note down that resonated with me, because isn't that where we have to start as a site, as a administrator? Is that number one for you? I mean,
it's like I tell folks, and I'm going to say to my teachers on our first day, the first day of school, we got to get them here safely. We got to feed them lunch. We got to get them home safely. Everything else is just gravy. It's extra. Because if we don't get them here safe and keep them safe while they're here, we got a whole mess load of problems.
And if they don't feel comfortable, if they don't feel safe, you can have the greatest teacher of the universe in the front of the room. It doesn't matter if they don't feel safe, if their stomach's not full, if they're worried about all the other stuff.
Well, and see, we when I was going through principal corps, they talk a lot about finding a vision, and you got to have a vision, you got to have a mission, and that took me. It took me the better part of 6 years to come up with what I thought was our mission. And it's a good slogan, and it's a good idea. It's more of our how or our what than our why. We always say we want to be where kids want to be and where teachers want to teach, and that helps guide us.
Yeah.
But why do we want to do that? And it goes back to what we talked about before. And I think too often here, especially, I know this over the last 2 years that I've been administrator here, we've been really focused on the what and the how. Like, how are we going to do this and what happened? And we've grown. We've made huge growth in the last 2 years here. But I think if we can hammer in why we're doing what we're doing, the other stuff will still happen. The how and the what aren't going to change. But I think we can just light a fire underneath the why and just supercharge the how and the what. That's the plan.
Yeah.
Is to supercharge, what we're doing, if we could focus on why we're doing it.
It's kind of like state testing. No matter what state you're in, everyone has state testing. And it's like, well, the age-old argument, like, well, do we test prep? Or it's like, if you teach well, if you teach students to critically think, and the test scores are going to take care of themselves.
Yep. And if you build those relationships and make those kids want to be there with you and want to do well for you, they got to want to do well for you, is what I tell them. Because a lot of times in elementary, they don't have any other stake in it. If they don't want to do well for you, they're not going to do it.
Yeah. But they'll run through a brick wall for you if they know you care for them.
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat. And that's what. And the lady who taught my son and my daughter while they were here for the longest time, I tell folks this too. This is what's more important than anything else. Is she was a 5th grade teacher who had a SPED endorsement. She didn't know jack about autism. She didn't, other than the fact that she had watched them at our house a couple times, and she didn't know anything about any ABA therapy. But I tell folks all the time, it's one thing she had, and nobody else had. She knew the kid, and she knew the kids, and she wanted to have a relationship with them, and she had a positive relationship with them. And because of that, man, they made huge growth. And we have to just mirror that throughout the building. The kids, you got to build that relationship with that kid. They got to know they got somebody that cares about them. And I promise you, if that happens, the attendance will be there, and the learning and the growth will be there too.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I just a couple of days ago, I reached out to a couple of my former 4th and 5th grade students who are now college graduates, which, not that I needed a reminder to feel old, but this did it. And I asked them, I'm doing some writing on the subject of what we're talking about right now. Basically, what do kids remember from that? Is it how to divide fractions? Is it the difference between a simile and a metaphor? What do they? And I reached out to my PLN, and I reached out to some former students and said, think about your favorite teachers growing up. What do you remember? Not a single response was lesson specific. Not a single one. It was responses like, she smiled at me. Literally it was just, she smiled at me. That's a student who is now is a grown adult who 30, 40 years later, that's what she remembers. My teacher smiled at me. There's your why right there.
Exactly.
That teacher got it.
Exactly. And and you got to know your why so you can make those connections. Because yes, I love having my toys all up in my office, but another reason why I have toys all up in my office, because they see that and they say, oh, well, you like Star Wars?
Yeah.
Well, my dad loves Star Wars too, or my uncle. Everybody's got somebody that loves it. Or Iron Man's my favorite. You can start a connection. You start a conversation with them, and it just shows them that, hey, you know what? Maybe they're a little bit like me. If they can relate to you more, they think you can relate to them. And that's a way to start. Plus, I get to play with my toys in my office, but that's not the point. That's not the point. It's a connection. It helps build a connection with the kids that come in, no matter who it is.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the videos that I'm going to show when our teachers come back, and I don't know if you've seen this. Have you heard of Michael Jr.?
Yes, and it's start with the why in his videos. Oh, he's great. And I say that be like I did because our superintendent, who I just love, because every time she meets with us, she actually does try to teach us something. She used some of his videos, and then she told us on day one, she says, well, we're going to a convocation on the 2nd, but day one, the teachers will be with us. She says, you're not allowed to show his videos because I'm showing them on the 2nd. I was like, oh, God. He's so good, though. Oh, he's so good.
Yeah, well, for anyone listening who is not familiar with him, but it sounds like you've seen, I mean, he's a comedian, first of all, who's not familiar. And look him up on YouTube, guys and gals, because he's funny. And he's clean and he's funny. But he talks about, and one thing, he's talking with a guy in the audience, and he asks him, hey, what do you do? Guy says, I'm a music teacher. He says, oh, well, show me something. Give me a little Amazing Grace. So the guy sings Amazing Grace. And Michael Jr. says, okay, now I want you to sing it like your uncle's in prison. And all the you are down in the dumps type thing. Sing it again. And dude just built out.
Yes.
It's just, like he's getting like a standing ovation from the crowd.
And you can watch the people in the crowd while he's singing it the second time, and they're just like, oh my gosh, they're just blown away when they see like he knows why he's singing it now.
And that's Michael's point, was like, before I told him he knew what to sing. Mm-hmm. Then he knew why he was singing it. And if we as teachers, administrators, cafeteria workers, playground aides, crossing guards, if we keep that why are we here? It's not to make a paycheck. It's for the kids. And I love how you said, like, you had your actual biological kids with you
exactly
across the street, but you can still take that same mindset. These are my kids.
And that's the thing is I think you have to, because if you don't have a solid why, like why you're doing this, you'll come to work every day and you'll run your building and you'll work hard, but eventually your building is going to run you and it's going to run you down.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a strong sense of why you're doing it, eventually you won't do it anymore.
You'll burn out. I mean, I think it's this. I'm getting ready to start year 6 as a site principal. It's a hard job.
It's
really hard. It is one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had. But doggone it, there are days where I'm so glad that we're having this talk when we're having this talk, because it's kind of I was already kind of leaning in this direction, but this is just like laser focusing me for getting this year started on the right foot, not just for my teachers, but for me.
For me, exactly. I needed this today because I was like, we've been trying to plan this for a while, and I was like, I got to plan. I said, you know what? We're not going to plan it. I'm just going to say, let's do it. I'm going to close the door. We're going to make this happen because I needed it.
Yes.
I needed that push.
This has been fantastic. I totally, and I'm going to speak for. I know that people are getting something out of this too. And again, whether I always try to pull like, well, what's a nugget? Well, whether if you're a classroom teacher and you're getting ready and you're listening, because we're recording this at the end of July, so most everyone in the country, you're getting ready, you're heading back to school, you're getting back into your classroom. As you're getting everything ready, as you're getting your curriculum, remember those aren't just names on a roster. You got 30. Those are not names on a roster. I don't remember where I heard it, but that student is every one of your students is somebody's whole world.
Exactly.
And when we think of it, that Billy, Johnny, Susie, that is somebody's world.
Mm-hmm. And I look at ours, like that's Addison, that's McCade, that's Marley. And I'm going to show them some other pictures of other kids. Guess what? That's Addison too. That's also McCade, and that's also Marley, because that's what's going to keep me going to make sure they're getting what they need while they're here.
Amen. If I had a mic, I would pass it through the Ask you to drop it. That's awesome, Toby.
No worries, man. Well, thank you.
Well, Toby,
I'm working on it.
I think you said your teachers are coming back tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yes.
Dude,
yes. We got some goodie bags ready. We've got most of the building ready.
Awesome.
So,
well,
we're getting there.
I wish you the best. I know you're going to rock it. I look forward to following your journey on Twitter and
you. Thank you.
How can anyone who is not yet connected with you, where can they find you online?
One of the easiest ways to find me, of course, is on Twitter. But I tell folks about.me, Jedi Pad Master. It's got my little Twitter handle on it. Or if you just Google Toby Price and autism, most of the time it comes up. If you just Google Toby Price, he's an Australian dirt bike champion. That's also not me, but you can follow me because you love him anyways too. That's fine. That's how I got a lot of followers on Instagram. They thought I was the biker guy. No, I passed. But about.me, Jedi Pad Master is an easy way to find me, and of course on Twitter. I'm all over the place on Twitter. Sometimes it's my favorite. But thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I just love the fact that I got to talk to you today, man. I love your work. I love following you on Twitter as well. So it's good just to talk to you and hang out with you today. Awesome,
Toby. Well, that feeling is mutual. Thank you so much, and I hope one day we'll run into each other face to face at a conference. That would be fantastic. So knock 'em dead tomorrow. I know you're.
Thank you.
And for everyone listening, thank you. I know it's been a while. We took a little summer break, but we're back. Episode 50. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe. Then you don't have to check. We're in iTunes, Google Play, even on Spotify now. You can also stream it on my website at brentcoley.com. Once again, until next time, Toby, have a great day tomorrow with your staff. Everyone,
thank you.
Have a great day. And until next time, have a good one.